in this video I'm just going to talk very briefly about reading aloud and how it can help you I'm just picking up my paper, as a language learner. So reading aloud, it's kind of associated with school, so it can often make us feel like we're back at school if we're asked to read aloud. And it is actually also quite difficult to read aloud in a second language. Sometimes when I'm in my Chinese lesson, one of my teachers gets me to read aloud. And although I do enjoy it, I do find it very challenging, especially because it's a text I didn't see before. So in my lessons, my teacher is expecting me to read all the Chinese characters and be able to pronounce them and to kind of make the text make sense, and that's quite a tough challenge. So my suggestion is going to be slightly different to that, but it does bring you many benefits to read aloud. So the most obvious benefit is just that it increases the amount of speaking time you get in English. Almost all my students complain that they don't get enough time to talk in English. So reading aloud is a really great way to increase your talking time. Reading aloud, when you read a complex text, when you read something really difficult, reading aloud, because it makes you slow down, it actually helps you to understand complicated bits of written information. And finally, it can also help you to remember more efficiently. So it can help you remember words, and it can help you remember ideas better. Now, obviously there are downsides to reading aloud. Number one being it's slow. It's much slower to read aloud than it is to read in your mind silently. So obviously reading aloud is not something you want to do every time you read. But it definitely is a useful strategy to play with from time to time. So let's say that you're reading a newspaper article. Once you've read the whole thing quite quickly, you could choose one paragraph and read that aloud. And if you really wanted to do something different, you could also record yourself reading the paragraph aloud and then listen to yourself and see what you think. What do you think of your pronunciation? And this is what I do with Chinese. I take one paragraph from my book, I read it aloud, and then I compare myself to my MP3 recording. I have a recording of a Chinese person reading the book, so I compare me to her. Listening to other people reading aloud is also really good. So if you're reading a novel or a graded reader, I highly recommend that you get hold of the MP3 recording and you listen and read together. That is a really good strategy. When we listen to someone else reading, it's also really beneficial for our memory as well. So listening and reading, they can go hand in hand. And then I mentioned complex texts and difficult texts. So for many learners, you face complex texts in exam situations, and of course in an exam you can't read aloud, you have to be silent. So if you're in an exam, you can do this, and you can kind of mouth the words silently to yourself. You might not want to make those movements quite so big, but even just forming the shape of the words in your mouth can help you if there's maybe a passage or a section that you really don't understand. So reading aloud, have a go, see what you think. Just try a tiny little bit of reading aloud. And if you have any comments or thoughts, of course you can ask me a question below. I do have a blog post about reading aloud, so the link is below. If you'd like more information about this strategy, go and check out the blog. My name is Sarah. I'm an English teacher and language anxiety coach. I help people overcome the fear of speaking and using English. Thank you for watching.